Hello everyone, welcome to Lush and Salty Aquariums. My name is Stefan. Thank you ever so much for coming to my channel. Oh my gosh, golly gee, this 22.5 gallon, this ADA 60H, if you want the specs, is killing it. I mean, if you look up Community Aquarium or Tetra Aquarium, this is it, baby. This is the picture they would show you. I did a massive trim. I mean, I pulled out so many plants. It literally, when I brought him to my local fish shop, he was just so stunned and pleased. Some rare plants, super healthy plants, all different varieties. Blixa japonica anubius, some stems from the back, some bucephalandra, all of that from here, and it's still, by any definition, a massively lush planted aquarium. But for the first time, maybe ever in its life, I'm getting, the impossible, wonderful eyeful of fish, all of them just interacting and congregating together. It's so wonderful, and I wanted to share that with you because honestly, when my tanks get so lush and so heavily planted, even when I do a more customary trim, they're still hippies, they're still long hairs, and I rarely see this much of what lies beneath, and I wanted to share that with you. So let's do that now because you can see all the fish, so let's talk about them. First of all, in many ways, the bedrock in terms of the livestock are these SB rasboras, or the lamb chop rasboras. And you could see, and granted, it's under a nice light. That's a Twin Star E series. I think they're higher, middle to higher end light. But look at that shimmer. It's like bronze, right? I'm hoping when this video posts that you're seeing what I'm seeing, which is a metallic bronze that has so much red in it. I mean, that's what makes this fish different from its kissing cousin, the Harlequin rasbora. That, and it's a little bit smaller. Back in the day, it used to be a lot more expensive too, but that's simply not true. These are among the most inexpensive fish you could buy, and they're very common, and I highly recommend them. I could see 40 of them in a 20-gallon as a species only, and that would be awesome. As such, I think I have about 9, give or take, and they've lived with me for now getting in 3 years. I've never found a dead one, knock on wood. The other anchor species are those gorgeous Savoir resplendens, or the rummy nose rasbora, with that slate gray metal sheen and the bright red nose. Again, these used to be a lot more uncommon and expensive, and now, while not as easy to find and as cheap as the SB rasbora, they're a much more economical fish. And one of the most interesting things about that fish is the male is so much more colorful and spectacular than the female. As much as any species of fish, the sexual difference is considerable when you look at those particular animals. I'm trying to find the female. There's a female, you see it? It looks for all the world like an unpregnant female guppy right there. But you see it engaging with the male. I totally believe that you need to have both sexes of fish, with few exceptions. I mean, obviously a beta, but with few exceptions, when you have both sexes, the fish and you will have a better experience. Now, there are exceptions. I said the beta, and I see my reflection, which bugs the crap out of me, but there are also exceptions. A species or a male-only guppy tank makes a lot of sense if you don't want a million guppies, etc., etc. But the Savoir resplendens is a very special fish. A little tricky at first. They can be sensitive, prone to certain issues that other fish might not get. So you want to do your research with them. But mine are doing great. And I have more males than females, but in many ways it's because we can't find the females. They're so boring. Sorry, ladies. Then we have these lovely little dwarf barbs. I forget the exact scientific name. Again, another fish that used to cost a lot more and was harder to find, but becoming more common. Unlike its further cousins, the tiger barbs, etc. These are perfectly wonderful nano fish, completely peaceful. And when they're happy, you get that wonderful fin structure, that dorsal that's shooting straight up, and that lime yellow color, and the stripes. A gorgeous little fish. I have a small group of them as well. In this aquarium, we also have some cardinal tetras. There's one there, looking really, really beautiful. We also have some black phantom, and now you see a male and a female. Pretty sure the male has the much higher dorsal, and actually the female is showing more color. I could be wrong. I know the one on the right is a male, but I could be wrong about this one. There's so much discussion about black phantom, red phantom, and all the other phantoms that I think a little bit gets lost in translation, and even I'm confused. But no matter how you slice it, they're a gorgeous fish, a mainstay in the hobby, and you can see why. They're completely stunning. They have, in many ways, all the different characteristics of so many different fish that we adore in one package. Now I do have, speaking of sex, only one sex. I have one female Endler in here. I just didn't want her being impregnated and dropping more fry in my other tanks, but I didn't want to cull her. She's had babies in this tank, and I found a few and saved a few, and I let the others maybe get picked off by these fish, because some of the bigger ones are capable. There is a honey gourami. I have one beautiful honey gourami in 3 different tanks. To me, they're the peaceful alternative to a betta fish. All the color, none of the behavior. A very curious, fun little fish. And also, I've said this every time I talk about the honey gourami, they're very comfortable being alone. You don't need multiples. And then some people would argue you shouldn't have multiples. I don't know about that. But I just have the one in here, and when I'm not filming, I swear to God, it's up front doing what all these other fish are doing. In this aquarium, we have a host of Panda Coreodoras. I think I've had successful spawns. There's 2, because I see some in here that are super tiny, or much smaller than those, and not that those are big, but leads me to believe they have spawned. I never saw the eggs, but I never saw a lot of things in this tank. There was so many plants. In this aquarium, we have 1 or 2 plecostomus. You see a long fin calico right there between the crevice there. This tank's right at the cusp of being too small for a full-grown plecostomus, but they're if you get them really young, it'll take 2 years for them to get the size of the one I just showed you. They're very slow growers. That's been my experience. And maybe that's why something like the zebra plecos are so much money, because it takes so damn long for them to grow into a sellable size. But they're easy to breed. The reds and the albinos and the snowballs, they'll all mate together, spawn together. I love plecostomus because they really do a good job, especially relatively early on, like with that white fungus you might get on the driftwood. They do a great job. cleaning, and I recommend them as a part of your cleanup crew all the time, but especially in the beginning. There's some pandas checking out that red tiger lotus to see if there's one more granule of food. As you can see on the bogwood, over time I've been able to cultivate the perfect wrapping of moss. At first it was just big clumps that I had threaded to them, and it grew really well, but it was ungainly. But if you keep picking and grooming, you will get that desired carpeting effect along your wood. I took so many plants out, folks. That's the Blixa japonica. I found some of the most healthy Java fern I've ever seen in my life in the back where no one could see it, so I took that out. This is Cypress helferi. It's a little bit brown at the edges, but what a great plant. So beautiful. I say it's a high-class version of jungle vale. It more or less stays in one place. A little harder to find, a little more exotic. It just feels a little bit more special than Vallisneria, of which I am a huge fan, so don't get me wrong. Bucephalandra out the wazoo. Different kinds here. Godzilla Kadang, maybe. Not entirely sure. People think I'm this plant guru. Well, I'm not. I couldn't give you a scientific name for just about all my plants. I'm just happy to get the common names right. That's mermaid weed back there, by the way, with the feathery leaves. And this is, what crypt is that? Balancea, with the gorgeous variegated leaf right there that shows a little purple sometimes. And it's cutting through the CO2 drop checker. So I've got that long plant on the left and the Cypress helferi on the right. And then, by the way, let me stand to show you from the top. This is Ludwigia repens back there. In about 2 weeks, it'll be at the surface, and then that will completely block out the black spot back there. But I'm not hating the space, because clearly the fish are just doing so well. In a lot of my tanks, if I'm being honest, the fish tend to recede and take advantage of all the cover I provide them. And I forget, how wonderful aquarium fish are to the hobby. I mean, they should and could and are the main reason people get into it. I do get obsessed with plants and aquascaping, but this tank is a reminder that, it begins and ends with the fish. If you have any questions, I missed a lot of things in this overview. I was just so glad to show off the fish. Please hit me up. I'd be delighted to answer, and I will. But until then, always keep your hands in the tank, albeit carefully, and ciao for now.